Here's my question. Is this a sign that Cowboys don't see Amari Cooper as a long-term player on this team?
It is a great question. And I guess I'll more so let Brian answer it with an opinion to the direct question, because like I look at it and I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying. You have an opportunity to restructure people because you want to save money to do something else or whatever. And he would make a lot of sense. And I don't know if it's that they don't trust the health or that they just don't feel like they have to yet. But whatever the reason, I think I have more evidence than ever. Like everybody wants CeeDee Lamb to be the number one receiver on this team and be the best receiver, and I don't need Amari Cooper. And I just think in that world, you are really selling short who and what Amari Cooper is for your football team. Like
I think he's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the idea that, oh, well, I could sign Michael Gallup and I have CeeDee Lamb and I don't need Amari Cooper. Like as long as
you got both.
As long as CeeDee Lamb is walking up to Amari and being like, hey, show me how the hell to get off the ball.
There you go.
Hey, what do you like? Amari Cooper is a star on a fair deal. And so like I'm saying all that to say I don't know the answer to your question. Because to me, he is a guy that if you wanted to free up money to do something, I don't feel like Amari Cooper's career is going to die anytime soon. I don't feel like I want Amari Cooper off my roster anytime soon. I love Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb being on the same team, and I hope they're on the same team for the next, what's Coop got left, 4 more? I hope they play them out. I hope they're on the team. So I don't know is the answer.
I think you gave for a no answer, I think you gave actually a pretty good answer.
Yeah, but the question was why not restructure Amari?
Well,
my answer was I don't know.
Well, the
doesn't make sense. I think that's the point.
I think it's the question of the health. I think it's the question of, is there something that we're always going to have to deal with him, with that, with the feet and the things that he goes through, the injuries, the bumps, the bruises and stuff. He lines up and plays. There's no question about that. But are you starting to talk about durability issues at a position where he needs his feet? And when he's healthy, of course, he's one of the best players there is. But when not healthy, when he has to fight through things, there's some concern there about that, of him having to deal with all that he goes through. And I think that's the one thing keeping them from doing stuff with him is the fact that they're not completely sure of his long-term health.
Well, I hear that, and it's been a concern for me. And that's interesting because I think he's done a great job managing it.
He has. He has. But you say, going, well, Broadus, what about Tyron Smith and what about all that,
Other guys have been hurt.
Yeah, that's, to me, it doesn't make sense when you think about, flipping switches for Tyron Smith, or if you have to do something with Lyle Collins. I think that's the next big thing we need to keep an eye on, by the way. But to me, it's Amari. They're just looking at him as like, man, how long can he really play? Is the feet and plantar fasciitis and stuff, is that going to come back? Is that going to be a problem? Are we always going to have to work on him? That kind of thing. I think there's some legitimate concerns there, but like you said, he plays through a lot of things.
So maybe the explanation is kind of like actions are louder than words, or more accurate than words, because they'll tell you no long-term concerns. I mean, they did extend him. They did give him a long-term extension.
They traded one for him, and then they gave him $20 million a year.
So, those are really strong actions, but they tell us, oh, no.
Even in that extension, though, remember, they let him reach free agency.
They went
to
the football team.
Yeah, they had their terms, and they were like, yeah, we'll do this. It wasn't like we want you no matter what. They let that dude literally reach free agency and get offered more money. And we're like, no, we're not going to match that, but if you want this.
Yeah, he turned down more money with the football team to come back. And so they were, in their mind, they were okay with him moving on.
Yeah. Well, maybe that foot injury is a little something where they're like, this could end the career early and we don't want to be so on the hook for it. Whenever things don't add up, I imagine there is a piece of information internally that we're just not going to be made available or privy to until it's over. Is it possible they look at it like, man, we're really up against the cap. Amari has a great contract. It would be tradable. We might not get a high pick, but someone would be willing to pick up on that contract. So as long as we have Amari Cooper, we're one trade away from totally flipping and transitioning in as far as how we're managing our cap.
Yeah, his contract is the 4th ranked contract out of 346 receivers that play in the league.
I think you could trade Coop for at least a 2. Because he's worth that contract.
What's happening now in front offices, Jeff, and we've experienced that the last several years, you don't need to trade for a wide receiver.
Right.
Because what's happening...
You say that, but you think if, let's just say, let's have fun here. The Cowboys are 0-5, and Devontae Adams blows out an Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay will trade for a receiver.
No, and I mean, to me, though, but Green Bay won't trade for a receiver because they wouldn't use a 1 for a receiver.
Right, but I think
I understand what you're saying.
There's a team out there that would at least give a second-round pick for Amari.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. But you've paid all this money. You've fully guaranteed money of over $40 million to this guy.
Right.
And so now you're going to say, I'm going to take a 2 for him? I don't think that overall is very good football myself, but I just feel like the teams are looking at these wide receivers and they're thinking, yeah, we have to pay him, but look at like one of the best ones. And maybe because that guy got shipped off to Tennessee because he was broken down and beat up and the money was too much and all that.
Well,
but what'd he go for? Like a 3 and a 5?
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't what you
at age 32.
Yeah. Yeah. And Amari's 27 years old. I know he's it's younger than Jones there, but man.
And maybe that's just another way to make the same point, which is leave Amari Cooper on my team.
Right.
Leave him on my team.
I got in a Twitter discussion with folks the other day about this. The guy's like, you got to trade and move on and all that. And I'm thinking, and I think about doing the show with you, Gavin, and you're like, well, if I can move on from him. And I'm like, man, I just don't know if I could trade my best player at the position. I just don't, in my mind.
It's not a good way to win games.
Yeah, I couldn't do
Ask
that.
the Raiders how that went with Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
They wanted take backs 3 years later.
Yeah, I just couldn't, I can't do that with Amari.
So what do you think happens next March? Do they flip the switch? Could they be moving on? It's fascinating to me if you're desperately up against a cap situation and you're like, no, we're good. We don't. It's like they want to maintain their flexibility with his contract for one reason or another.
Pardon my ignorance on Dak's contract, but I think they would do Dak's contract before they would do Amari Cooper's.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, if they had to go get money, because they're drawing the line in the sand here that they don't want to do this. So I just kind of feel like they're going to let Amari's contract continue on the way it is and go get money from somebody else.